right, hello everybody. This is the final lesson of the transformations of quadratics stuff. So we're not doing anything new today other than just doing all of them. All right, so if you were looking at trying to predict what the equation is of that blue one, you'd need to look at it and say, okay, well, we've got obviously a quadratic shape, so the green one to start with. Then we have moved it up one, so think about what that transformation is. Move it over 3 to the right, what that transformation is, and then back to the original stuff we talked about, really look at the shape. So the shape of it, instead of over 1, up 1, we've been stretched to be over 1, up 2. Okay, so this is stretched by 2, right? So we should be able to predict from that then that we've got a 2x squared, right? So 2, but then the x squared is going to have a shift in there to move it to the right 3, which you should remember is backwards, so minus 3. Then the square, of course, and then it is up 1. So thinking about that one, looking at it, that's what we can do, right? So there's all that stuff that we just sort of reasoned out, right? So, you know, the noticing that it's stretched vertically by a factor of 2 to give it the taller shape. So a is greater than 1, I put in, so you know it's stretching, but more specifically, you know, the specific amount it's stretched by, right? So maybe what I would like to say here instead would be, notice that it, like I said over there, it's over 1 and up 2, right? So basically the normal is over 1, up 1, and so now it's over 1, up 2, so yeah, right? So 1 up 1 instead of 2, or up 2 instead of 1. So think of it as, you know, the times by 2, right? Times by 2. I'll move this stuff around here to make it. There we go. Times by 2. Make that look like a times by 2. Yeah. So that should make sense. And then the idea of noticing it's to the right 3. So you're be careful about how you think about that because it's backwards to what you'd expect, but carefully point out that it's to the right 3. And of course that it was up 1, right? Or up 3. Oh, no, that's not right. Up 1. Okay. All right. So the reverse version of that. This was looking at the graph and saying what the equation would be. Now we have the power to look at this and say, well, what would it look like, right? So we can look at this one and say, okay, well, it's going to be what? It's going to be stretched, like skinny or taller, whatever, by a factor of 3, but it's also going to be upside down. So it's going to be stretched vertically. By 3, and it's upside down. Since it's negative. And this part here, we're going to say, okay, that is to the left. I'm going to emphasize left here. To the left 2, because it's positive. And let's go with purple for the final color here. It's up 4. We should be able to visualize that thing. If we were just do like a really rough sketch of this, we'd have, you know, the original graph. I guess I'll do green for the original, like I've been doing. And then we'll stretch it by a factor of 3. So let's make it, I'll do the first original in black just so I can stick with the colors I had chosen today. So let me just, yeah, good enough, I guess. So stretched by a factor of 3, so it's going to be taller by a factor of 3. And then it's going to be shifted to the left 2 steps. So 1, 2, and have that same shape from this spot, right? And then up 4. So the final one being purple, up 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Up here, same shape. Right? It's very easy to visualize that stuff since we have that kind of knowledge of this. Oh, but I forgot to flip it. My bad. So basically, I'm going to have to fix that here after the fact. And just flip vertically. Right, so there's what the second one should have been, and therefore, of course, both of these ones. Split both in half. It's not letting me split both, but I'll just fix that quick here. Up and down, and down. There we go. There's the left 2, down 4. All right, there we go. So hopefully you're watching the video and saying, wait, wasn't it supposed to be flipped? And then waiting to see if I caught it, right? Hopefully that's where you're at if you're watching and thinking and following along with it. So I should make mistakes like that on purpose sometimes to see, to make sure you pay attention and watch for them. Have a prize for anybody who notices. Anyways, so that's what the graph would look like. I can tell I botched it again, right? Should have been up 4 still. It felt like it was good because my little dashes were in the right spot from flipping, but it seemed too good to be true. In fact, it was. There we go. Now it's done. Just so you know, I'm videoing this last period before the Easter weekend. So yeah, possibly some more mistakes happen a little bit when your brain's almost on holiday mode, right? All right. So quite often it's nice to do the stretches first. So it kind of gives you your new shape. And then you just shift it over and up and down, right? There was one year where I was teaching math class in the fitness room. Our fitness room had like a class on the side of it. So we were talking about how we do our stretches first, just like in fitness. Anyways, it's kind of fun. So all of these examples, be able to do all these things either by graph or by table. So let's do this one. Is this the same one exactly? Yes, it is. So this is where we could do it in detail, what we just did. So here's the original. Let's go in green. It's green on this page, so let's do it. So 0, 0, 1, 1, minus 1, 1, 4, 3, 9, minus 2, 4. Oops. Minus 2, 4. All right. That is your y equals x squared. And then I had blue for the vertical stretch and flip. So let's vertically stretch and flip. So the 0, 0 is going to stay put. Instead of up 1, we're going to be down 1, but down 3 times as far. Smart work, acting up a little bit. It wants a long weekend too. So times 3 for the 4 is going to be down at like 12. So instead of being up 4, we're down 10, 11, 12. Down there and down there. So there's our vertically flipped and stretched. 1y equals negative 3x squared. And we'll do the table as well, but let's do it afterwards because it kind of shows that we can do this based on our understanding. We're not so reliant on calculations of values like we were. I'm going to do it in red. Well, I just want to be orange to match the table. Go. Hopefully that's it. All right, so the orange one, we need to be that shape, but moved up 4 steps. Okay, so it moved on me a little bit. All right, so that shape, but up 4 steps. So basically doing that same shape, but starting from 4 steps up. And you might find it easier just to think of like, instead of drawing the arrows everywhere, I'll draw that one in, but maybe not all of them, or maybe you want to, it's up to you. But up 4 steps would go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 to there, 1, 2, 3, 4 to there. What I was going to suggest was instead of necessarily thinking of it like that, you could think of it as, in my pattern, I went over 1 and down 3, so I could go over 1 and down 3 in the new one. All right, let me show you what I meant there. Purple. Right here we went over 1 down 3, so we could go over 1 down 3. Right, so that works too. The other one, weird orange. So we're going up 4 steps, yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be up to about there, up to about there. So we can graph that. That, and like that. right? So that is the y equals negative 3x squared plus 4. Then we just have to take that thing and shift it to the left too. So final color was purple. So whole thing just shifted left too. So there's 2 steps over for that one. And I'll just show the dots instead of all the arrows because it's getting a little messy. Right? Especially because my smartboard's a little misaligned, so I keep having to correct where it shows up. But anyway, same graph. Like that. Like that. So that's my final one. Y equals the negative 3 x. I don't have room to write it there. I'll write it here, just based on the color and what it is. All right, so y equals the negative 3x plus 2 squared plus the 4. I can shrink that down a little and put it somewhere. I can put it up here now that it's shrunk down. Yeah, there we go. I like it. Okay, so that's the graph. It does start to look a little sloppy, but especially if you emphasize the final result's kind of nice, have it a little darker and that, so you can see like, oh yeah, there's the one that stands out as like you're saying that's the final result to me when I'm looking at your stuff. Okay. So similar work as before, right? When we're taking the y value and multiplying it by negative 3, right? I'll move my arrow to the right spot here. Multiplying by negative 3. So that's where that negative 12 came from, right? So if you were doing just the tables and then plotting all the points, you basically can do it still with that kind of new knowledge that we have, right? You're not just blindly making a table of values like we started out with the standard form. Okay, so there's all the points that we already found. And then adding 4 to all of the y's. So adding 4 to all of those. So adding 4 to negative 12 would bring us up to negative 8, which is where we were on the graph. Adding 4 to that is going to bring us to 1, which is where we were on the graph, and so on, so on, so on. And the final one here, for our x's, is a little bit of a weirder one. You have to recognize that we are going to be, even though it's an add of 2, we're going to be subtracting 2 from each. Just like when we say it's to the left, even though it's positive 2, we're going to subtract 2 even though it's positive 2. We're going to take the x value and we're going to subtract 2. So that one's going to become negative 4, isn't it? Right? And then subtract 2 from the negative 1, and so on and so on and so on. Okay, so this is just that same negative 8 because the y's aren't changing in that final step. So if you look, all of those tables match all of the graphs that we did. So being able to do it both ways is definitely where you want to be at. All right, so that's just an example of a textbook working through the same stuff. You can go through if you'd like. Yeah, so the summary overall, of course, we already saw this page, right? Yeah, and then do your shifts afterwards and so on. This is just a handout from my in-school group. So we're good. Hopefully that works for you. I have that question, this page is the one that I want you to do. So you can tell like some of them are bigger than others. There's only 2 here that are all 4 transformations. But get used to doing 1 or 2 or 3 transformations. So that's what I want you to do for practice. If you feel you need more practice, I've got this one that's clearly listed as optional. So there you go. I'll save that and post everything for you. All right. Until next time.